Does mental practice enhance performance? I believe it does, and I'm glad you're here. I'm Jason Hewlett, Hall of Fame speaker, award-winning entertainer. Let's dive right in. Have you ever wondered how and why champions are so into this mental visualization thing? There's something to it. When we visualize, when we think about mental preparation, it's one thing to go and practice over and over 1,000,000 times. It's another thing to mentally visualize yourself succeeding. And so we're going to talk about how we can and should do that today. It's the same as performance. Mental practice is something that I've been doing for a long time. I remember vividly as a child figuring this out for myself. I'm grateful I learned it at such an early age. I would map out my goals and desires for success. I would sit and visualize myself succeeding at something that I knew absolutely I could not do. I actually wasn't good at very many things as a kid other than moving my face and being silly. And I had to mentally prepare myself visually in my mind to be successful. I've been doing this for most of my life. And I remember a couple of years back watching a movie that really spoke to me. It was a movie called The Secret. And it was about the power of attraction. I finally realized what I had been doing for my entire life. I was essentially attracting to myself the things that I wanted my life to become. If you've never heard about the movie The Secret, I hope that you'll check it out. It might feel a little outdated now, but I'll tell you what, it really hits the mark. As a kid, I remember in kindergarten, the teacher said to my parents, this wonderful, nice young boy, he has a speech impediment. He has a learning disability. He has a lot of challenges, and it's going to be hard for him to even get through kindergarten and go along with his classmates into the next year. I remember my mom sitting with me every single day after school, and she would read with me as I tried my best to read out loud, and it was not working out. Eventually I had to go to a speech therapist, and it changed my life to be able to have somebody help me through saying words well. I do have a lot of challenges that I've gone through in order to become a professional speaker. I find it fascinating though, because I used to sit and envision myself speaking well. I used to envision myself succeeding even though they all said that I wouldn't. And there is something to the power of mental clarity and mental vision for yourself, mentally practicing what you want to become. I hope that that story encourages you. There's something to be said about practicing in your mind before you actually take the stage. I think about these concert pianists who do this so well. A musician who thinks about it in their mind and they lay on the couch and envision themselves succeeding and getting a standing ovation. There is something to it. It is obviously one thing to put in the time and the practice and the hours in front of the instrument, but it's another thing to envision yourself succeeding, to making sure that you know what you can do in your mind even if others say you cannot. And there is a way to succeed just by practicing in your mind what you're going to now sit down and practice in front of that instrument. Let's talk about enhancing skills through visualization. One of my favorite athletes of all time is a guy named Michael Phelps. Yeah, Michael Phelps is the most award-winning decorated Olympian of all time. A swimmer. This was a guy who practiced every single day, never missed. He always practiced the same way. If you've ever heard him speak, it is one of the most fascinating things you've ever heard. But he also made so much time for mental visualization, making sure that he was succeeding and wearing gold medals around his neck. He did this every single day, and there is something to be said about mentally seeing yourself, having the success, and having great performance every time. I remember the first time I realized I could not play the piano like I wanted to. I would sit down and I'd listen to the song that I wanted to play and I'd think, I can't figure it out. And so I remember listening to Billy Joel play The Piano Man. Piano Man is such a cool song because not only is Billy Joel playing it and singing at the same time, he's also playing a harmonica. I remember listening and visualizing myself playing that song and playing it well. I remember seeing a neighbor playing that song who was just a little bit older than me, and I thought, man, this is awesome. And I saw the girls watching him and I thought, I want the girls to watch me and clap too. And I was young. I remember watching this thinking, I want to do that someday. And I would listen to the song over and over again and try to figure out not only the notes, but the way he was playing it. Now, this was before any type of desire to have piano lessons or anything like that. And instead, I just listened to the music over and over again until I sat down, visualized myself doing it well, and I started playing this Piano Man song. It took me 6 months to learn how to play it and play it right and well. But eventually I got there, and I'll tell you what, having that mental visualization and mental practice, so much that I did every time before I sat down at the piano to put my hands on the instrument, made all the difference. Maybe sometime you should Google me playing the Piano Man. I'd also like to recommend you harness the power of self-talk. I don't know about you, but I talk to myself all the time. In fact, just the other day I was walking around and talking out loud and somebody walked by and said, "Are you talking to me?" I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm talking to myself." The power of self-talk is powerful because it actually helps us to reaffirm to ourselves what we're trying to go after. There are a couple of books that help us through these types of things in terms of affirmations or reaffirmations about ourselves, and I would like to give some suggestions. If these old books haven't already gotten to your library, these will change your life because they changed mine as well. The first one that I remember reading as a kid was called As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. This book actually helps you to realize that the words that you say to yourself really do matter. The way that you think about yourself, the way that you think about what you're capable of, it all comes down to giving yourself a chance and mentally going through that first. Check out As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. It'll change your life. The other book you really have to get is called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Think and Grow Rich is essentially the power of attraction. It's about putting a seed in your mind that you can become rich and do your life's work. When you think and grow rich, yes, you're able to help many more people because you care enough to take the time to mentally prepare to do something great. Check out Think and Grow Rich. And the third classic I want to tell you about is The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. My dad gave me these books when I was a kid and I was not doing well in school. He sat down on the edge of my bed and he said, "Son, school's not going well. You're not keeping up, and I know that it's going to be a rough life unless you get a couple things together. Here's some books that'll change your life." And he gave me these 3 books I just told you about, as well as a couple of others. But learning at a very young age that I could visualize in my mind and I could practice success, reaffirmations of myself, say positive words, all of these things made such a difference for me. I hope you'll check out those books because my dad gave them to me. Now I'm offering them to you. Go check them out. Practicing mental rehearsal before the performance is so important. So often we think we need to sit down at the instrument and play it, or we need to practice the speech before we give it. I recommend that you do that, no question, but it's pretty much more important to do it mentally and to see yourself succeeding. You'll become that much better at it as far as your performance when you get on that stage. Visualize yourself playing the song perfectly or playing it in a new way that is more inspiring. Visualize yourself giving a speech that people come up to you afterwards and give you a hug and say that it changed their life. Practice in your mind going through that sporting event or that dance routine that you've done a million times. This time you're doing it as excellent and as great as you've ever done it. This is what Olympic athletes do. This is what sports heroes do. This is what the top performers do. I hope you'll adopt it too. Let's also talk about utilizing goals and setting goals for yourself as well as making promises. Are you setting goals enough? Making it so that you're reaching and pushing yourself to a new level. It's not just to set a goal and to hopefully make it, it's also to make a promise and keep it to yourself. I like to talk about there's a difference between the two. You see, goals are particulars where promises are proclamations. What do you proclaim you're going to do every single day? What do you proclaim you're going to keep when it comes to the promises you've made yourself, your family, the people that are important to you? As well as, what are the goals that will help you attain that great promise? Before I go on a stage to present something to an audience, whether I'm the MC, the speaker, the workshop leader, or doing a performance and show, I'm mentally going through the performance. I'm thinking of my goals that have gotten me to that point. I'm grateful, and I'm making and keeping promises to myself that I'll not forget a certain part that I meant to put in. These are all a great practice before you take the stage. I would also recommend you cultivate resilience and think through the obstacles you're going to have to work through in order to achieve success. If you haven't visualized it first and gone through it mentally that you can make it even when an obstacle comes in your way, then it's going to be harder once that comes. It's not to say that we need to have a lot of anxiety and worry about every single challenge that might come our way because, as you know, challenges and adversity really are the refining fire for somebody being extremely successful and grateful. And so go through your mind how you can work through an obstacle. That if something goes wrong with the microphone before you take the stage or while you're doing the speech, you're going to be okay because you've worked through it in your mind as to what you can do. These types of practices are very, very unique. A lot of people don't talk about them, and they should, because these are some of the most powerful things you can do in your life to become successful. Mental preparation, mental rehearsal, going through it in your mind, it's very much the same as practicing it outright in person and with the instrument or with the mic in your hand. I'm excited to see what you're going to do with your mental preparation in your life. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and what I want you to know is that I've made lots of other videos to help you with your personal success as well. It's on this channel. If you haven't subscribed, please do, and I appreciate you taking the time to watch.